Haas selects their Cup Series driver. Hailie Deegan is getting Xfinity Series consideration, and the top of my power rankings looks completely different after the Brickyard 400. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Happy Monday. 2 weeks with no NASCAR racing. We will get through it together. Don't worry, still plenty of videos, plenty of content coming your way on this channel. Today, first and foremost, we're catching up on some silly season news that I missed this past weekend. On Saturday, Haas Factory Team announced that Cole Custer will drive their number 41 Ford in the Cup Series next season. The team will have a close technical alliance with RFK Racing. Joe Custer, Haas Factory Team president, said, "We're lacking no resources going into next year." Cole Custer, of course, drove the Stewart Haas Racing number 41 from 2020 to 2022, 3 seasons. He won at Kentucky in his rookie year. In 2023, he returned to the NASCAR Xfinity Series, won 3 races, and won the series championship. This year, he's got 1 Xfinity Series win and is leading the regular season standings by a whopping 56 points. Cole Custer joining Haas Factory Team, which is being run by Cole's father, Joe Custer, is no surprise. Cole Custer, though, now is 26 years old. Even though his dad runs the team, I feel Cole has earned another respectable Cup Series opportunity. The real question is, what kind of car is he going to be driving? Haas Factory Team is a small, single-car Ford team with an RFK alliance. Sounds an awful lot like Rick Ware Racing, another small Ford team with an RFK alliance. Justin Haley, for Rick Ware, is 29th in points this year. He's shown flashes, but is not consistently competitive. I expect similar results for Cole Custer next year. I expect that team to be in that 25th to 30th place points bracket, occasionally sneaking into the top 10, potentially contending on super speedways. I think Cole Custer has the ability to be a better driver than that, but he is still relatively young, and that inexperience combined with the remnants of a struggling Stewart Haas team suggests that the results won't be great. That's my way too early prediction for Cole Custer and Haas Factory Team. Where do you think the 41 will finish in points next year? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Haas still has 2 Xfinity Series seats to fill, and this weekend Joe Custer confirmed that they have talked to Hailie Deegan about a possible partnership. Joe Custer said, quote, "We believe there's more in her and we want to be a part of that." He didn't go into any more specifics, but he did add this, which I found interesting. He said, quote, "We've got to put cars in the winner's circle. We've got to sort out our equipment because our business model is reliant on having technical partners to keep the program healthy. So if we don't win and we are not a leader on the track, then our other teammates, they find it hard to believe that we can deliver the kind of data and leadership for them." Very interesting comments there. See, Hailie Deegan, I said this last week, she needs an established team with a good support group that can coach her, can develop her into a NASCAR driver. I think Haas is capable of that. They're the defending Xfinity Series champions, and I'm sure some, if not many, of those same people will stick around to help operate the Haas Factory Team Xfinity program. But the problem is what Joe Custer said in that second statement. Haas expects to run up front. They need to run up front and contend for wins in Xfinity. And I don't think Hailie Deegan is ready to do that. She's more of a project. It will take time for her to hopefully become competitive racing up front. Custer says they need to be competitive right away, so I'm not sure those interests truly align. But clearly, Joe Custer said it. Haas Factory Team is interested in Hailie Deegan. I get it. She has a big following, some funding behind her, and as I've said all along, there is potential there. There was a fearlessness she showed us in K&N and ARCA. I still believe she has the ability to be a successful professional race car driver. But for her to be successful in NASCAR, it's going to take the perfect situation. And I'm not sure Haas is that. But let me know, again, in the comments below if you agree or disagree. In a perfect world, I'd love to see Ford put a veteran and a young driver in those 2 Haas Xfinity Series seats. One driver we know likely won't be returning to the team is Riley Herbst. Joe Custer said this weekend that they made an offer to Herbst, but he indicated that Riley may have better options elsewhere. That option may be a third 2311 Cup Series seat. Rumors have been swirling for weeks. We've discussed them on the show. This past weekend at Indianapolis, Riley Herbst pulled off an impressive last lap pass to beat Aric Almirola to get his second career Xfinity Series win. And immediately afterwards, 23XI Racing co-owner Denny Hamlin posted impressive. When the news broke that Riley Herbst was the leading candidate to join 23XI Racing, I was a little bit negative at first. And still, if Herbst does end up at 23XI, it's more of a financial play than anything. Riley Herbst has family funding, B2B connections, and 23XI needs some cash if they're going to pay for a third charter. So money ultimately is what's moving this deal along, but I may have sold Riley Herbst a little bit short, especially when we compare him to other potential candidates. Corey Heim is widely considered to be one of the top NASCAR prospects today, and Fox Sports reporter Bob Pockrass wrote a few weeks back that Heim is seen as 23XI's driver of the future. I wholeheartedly agree. Corey Heim, I believe, is really, really talented. But at the same time, we were reminded this past weekend that he's also really, really young. Corey Heim has won a lot of races in trucks the past couple of years. He rarely faces adversity. But when he does, he's now shown us, at least more than once, that he's not quite sure how to handle it. Let's go back to the 2023 finale. I don't judge Heim as harshly for this race as some others do, but after getting spun from the championship lead by rival Carson Hocevar, Heim eventually retaliated, crashing Hocevar and damaging his own truck in the process in the final laps. Corey Heim's anger was completely justified, but was wrecking Carson Hocevar intentionally the best way to handle that? Maybe not. Fast forward to this past weekend at Indianapolis Raceway Park, a far less severe incident occurred. Friday night, Heim was squeezed by championship rival Christian Eckes. They rubbed doors briefly. Ultimately, this contact appeared to cut down one of Heim's tires. He had a flat, lost all his track position. Frustrated, Heim drove up to Eckes under caution and kind of swerved and doored him a little bit. NASCAR doesn't always like that. Now, Heim was able to fully recover. He put fresh tires on and drove that truck back up into the top 5. But after the race, Heim immediately went and confronted Christian Eckes. Back it up. Again, this was the on-track incident. Mind you, we're racing at a short track, racing inside the top 5 for position. Yes, Eckes rubbed Heim a little bit there. Ultimately, it did cut Heim's tire down. Unfortunately, Heim had every right to be frustrated. But looking at the post-race, I'm not sure this is a conversation that needed to happen in front of all these cameras, all these microphones, and all this media.
I was giving you a lane and misjudged.
Clearly, by a lot. By about a half a second.
Okay. Yeah, see you, Corey.
That feels like an incident that you text or call each other about later in the week, or maybe the following weekend during practice, you hash things out then. Heim confronting Eckes on pit road in front of everyone makes this a bigger storyline than I think it needed to be. Now there's added tension between the two championship favorites. They'll be asked far more questions by reporters. On one hand, I respect Heim for having the confidence to immediately go talk out his differences with Eckes, but on the other, I feel like this is a slight overreaction. He's escalating things a little quicker than he needs to. Again, that's not a conversation that needs to take place in full view of everyone. Corey Heim is only 21 years old. He has plenty of years ahead to gain this experience, to learn. Tying this back to Riley Herbst is 25 years old. He has 5+ years of Xfinity Series experience. Comparing the two, Riley Herbst's ceiling is not as high as Corey Heim's, but right now, I think you could argue, because of experience, because of age, Herbst is more Cup Series ready. So after watching those two races this weekend, my opinion has changed slightly. If 23XI wants to put Riley Herbst in a Cup car for the next couple of years, then they find a spot for Corey Heim, assuming he stays on the trajectory he's been on. That makes sense to me. And if Riley Herbst gets to Cup and actually exceeds expectations and maybe looks like a legitimate playoff contender, well then hey, that's a good problem to have. For Corey Heim, hopefully he continues to impress, continues to gain experience, and eventually the timing will all work itself out. Packed Monday show. Before we wrap things up, guys, it's time for one of my favorite weekly segments, the Out of the Groove Power Rankings, where I rank the 10 fastest overall teams in the NASCAR Cup Series right here, right now. The Brickyard 400 shuffled my top 5 up quite a bit. Let's get started. For the first time all year, I've dropped Martin Truex Jr. out of my top 10. I think he's usually a top 10 car, but there is absolutely no momentum there right now. I've got Bubba Wallace instead at number 10. He has all the momentum. Bubba's last 4 finishes, 7th, 13th, 10th, and 5th. I mentioned this last night. 2 weeks ago, he was more than 50 points below the playoff cut line. Now, he's only 7 points back, and he's left points on the table. He could have finished top 10 at Loudon, but got spun in the rain by Noah Gragson. Things are finally clicking for Bubba and Booty Barker. Really impressed with their results the past few weeks. That's why Bubba Wallace is now at number 10. At number 9, I've still got Alex Bowman. Indy wasn't great. He got caught up in a crash late. He was, I believe, on the same strategy as Kyle Larson at the end of stage 3. Larson obviously went on to win, but Bowman was unable to make the same progress that Larson was before all the overtimes. So Bowman wasn't great at Indy, but still, first at Chicago, a strong third at Pocono. Wish I could have seen more at Indy, but I don't think it'd be fair to drop him out of my top 10. Bowman at 9. At number 8, I've still got Brad Keselowski. That aggressive fuel strategy at Indy almost worked out. If that race stays green, if Kyle Busch doesn't spin out, how close would Brad have been? Maybe he could have pulled off the impossible. Who knows? It wouldn't have been the first time this summer that a Ford stretched the fuel longer than anyone expected. Despite finishing 21st, ultimately Keselowski still moved up a spot in the regular season standings. Keselowski at 8. Solid 7 for William Byron. After strong runs at Chicago and Pocono, Byron was caught up in a restart crash at Indianapolis. The past few weeks, we're starting to see more flashes of speed from the 24 again, though I don't think he's been as quick as his Hendrick teammates Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott the past few weeks. Something to be concerned about as we head into the playoffs. Speak of the devil at number 6, Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott probably had a top 5 car at Indianapolis. He had a top 5 car at Pocono, but back-to-back weeks, untimely penalties cost them dearly. But both at Pocono and Indy, Elliott was still able to rally to finish top 10 anyways. Unfortunately, this week, Elliott lost the regular season championship lead. He's now 10 points behind Kyle Larson, but I still like keeping him in the number 6 position. Certainly a contender. Top 5, this is where things get spicy. Denny Hamlin at number 5. He's lost the mojo. The 11 team has top 10 speed pretty much every week, but he only has one top 10 finish the past 6 weeks. Something always seems to go wrong. Bitten by fuel strategy late at Nashville, again here at the Brickyard. I'm also worried about Toyota. They keep having engine problems, mechanical issues. Denny Hamlin was plagued at Sonoma. Ultimately, we're talking about Indianapolis, Hamlin did win a stage. That's great, but I have to reward some of these other guys ahead of him because not only have they had great speed recently, unlike Hamlin, they're also getting the finishes. That's why I have Christopher Bell at 4. Now, I know he had a couple of bad results there in a row. He probably had the fastest car at Nashville, probably the fastest car at Chicago, wrecked both times, but he was top 5 at Indianapolis, and before those 2 bad races, his finishes were 1st, 4th, 9th, 7th, 1st. Christopher Bell has been really fast this summer, and for the most part, the results have also been really good. Christopher Bell at 4. At number 3, give me Tyler Reddick. His worst finish the last 6 races is 6th. Somehow Reddick always seems to be on the second place strategy. He's got more top 10s than anyone this year and will probably be the first to admit that he's let a couple additional victories get away from him. He's 3rd in the regular season standings, only 15 points behind Kyle Larson. Tyler Reddick is 3rd in my power rankings. Perhaps a surprise entry at number 2, I've got the defending champion Ryan Blaney. I don't think he's been this high on my power rankings since like February or March. Last 4 races, he's finished 6th, 10th, 1st, and 3rd. He's got 2 wins on the season, but has been very close to a couple more. Brad Keselowski running out of fuel at the worst possible time did not help Blaney's Brickyard 400 bid. I know some of these losses are heartbreaking, but Ryan Blaney is in the mix every single week. Penske is on the rise. I've got the defending champion at number 2. But hanging on to the number 1 spot, he must have heard me last week when I suggested his throne may be in question, Kyle Larson. Like I just mentioned, Larson certainly got an assist when Keselowski ran out of fuel in the second to last restart, gifting Larson the preferred line. But even before that, Kyle Larson was very good. He charged from like 20th to 3rd in the final run before the end of regulation, put himself in position to pressure Keselowski and Blaney, who were much tighter on fuel. Larson has the most wins this year. He now retakes the regular season points lead. Kyle Larson continues to be number 1 in the power rankings. Guys, let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with my top 10, some of the most dramatic changes in my top 5 on a week-to-week basis yet. Let me know what you think. Look forward to seeing your responses. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe for more NASCAR content, even during the off weeks. And a big thank you to my Patreon supporters as well. If you missed it, my Brickyard 400 post-race recap is probably here on the side, maybe below the screen somewhere. You can always go to my channel to check it out. Be sure to watch that if you haven't already. I will see you all again soon. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon, folks.